Hello and welcome to Chapter 3 in Organizational Behavior. Chapter 3 starts Part 2 of our textbook, which we're going to focus on individual behaviors and processes inside the organization. So in this chapter, we're going to look at things like individual differences between people, the concept of fit, of matching the right person to their job, realistic job previews. We're going to, number 2 here, define personality and describe general personality attributes. Item 3, look at important personality traits that affect behavior inside of organizations. And number 4, we'll talk about different types of intelligences. Okay, so we mentioned person to job fit, right? That's the extent to which contributions made by the individual match inducements offered by the organization. So what we really want to do is, do we have the right person do the right job? Is what that job requires them, is what they're interested in actually doing. And certainly we know people have lots of individual differences. They're not all the same. Like we talked about earlier, people are not robots, they are individuals, and they must be treated as such if you want to get the maximum output from them. Other types of fit. We're going to talk about people fitting inside of groups, people fitting inside particular parts of the organization, and person to vocation fit. So certain people with their personalities and backgrounds are better to do certain jobs. If I'm very, a person who worries and very fearful, I probably shouldn't be a fighter. If I have lots of patience and like children, then maybe kindergarten teacher or elementary teacher would be a good career for me. Realistic job previews are something the HR people, the human resources people like to talk about. This is where we present both positive, the good news, and potentially negative information to candidates. Right? These are viewed as a good thing during the job interview process or the information exchange with candidates for a job. The reason for this is the more accurate information we provide about the job, right? It builds, not only does it build trust with the employee or with a potential employee, but it reduces turnover. Right? Especially from employees we see here who quit because the job wasn't what they expected. So if the job is hot and dirty, if they're going to have to march out in the woods, if they're going to get rained on, if there's lots of stress, if there's lots of travel, I don't know, maybe it's a medical job where there's blood involved, which some people aren't okay with, right? It's really useful to tell those potential candidates those type of things so they can self-select away from jobs that are not appropriate to them. What we really want to avoid is getting someone in and having them being disgruntled because they didn't know this was part of the job. Or worse, we go through the effort of finding them, recruiting them, bring them on board. We train them for weeks, maybe months, right? And then they leave because there's something about the job that they didn't care for. Right? So they self-select away from the job. They find a different job where they don't have to put up with that. Right? So it really does help us. Matter of fact, there's lots of evidence to indicate that people do well in organizations where they have a relative previously or currently employed there. Why? Because not only do the relative, they have something to live up to, right? The organization knows their relative, so they don't want to be viewed as a subpar employee, but also the relative gives them the realistic job preview. Hey, if you get that job, you're going to have to put up with this, or so-and-so's a good guy, or whatever the private information they give them about the job and the organization is. That person has a very realistic look at the inside day-to-day workings of the organization. And those that don't want to be in that environment will find a reason not to apply there. Right? So those are a couple of reasons you want to be as honest as you can with your candidates, and then you as a potential employee, right, want to talk to people, not just the people in management, the people who do the work. What is the best thing about this job? What is the worst thing about this job? What is the one thing you would change if you could redesign this job, right? So then you can find out things. And if you as a potential employee have something that you really don't want to do, you can't travel because of a family situation outside of work or whatever the deal is, right? The best thing for you to is just ask them, right? Tell them why you're asking them, and they will, and most organizations will try to give you an honest answer as to what's required of you inside the job.